just as soon forget. What the Islanders couldn't do in 60 minutes in Game 1, they did in 53 seconds of Game 2, as Brian Trottier scored the first Islander goal of the championship series. Still in period 1, and the Islanders up 2-0. Defenseman Randy Gregg closes the gap for Edmonton. But before the period was out, Clark Gillies, an amazing reversal himself, gave the Islanders some breathing room. Gillies, coming off his worst professional year ever, completed his memorable night with 2 more tallies. It marked his first playoff hat trick and first hat trick of any kind in 5 years. The Islanders' reversal in Game 2 was complete. And what has become of Wayne Gretzky? He's been nearly invisible the first 2 games, seemingly going in circles as he looks for the antidote to the Islanders' formula that has him mesmerized. Games 1 and 2 are on Long Island. Now the scene shifts for Game 3 of the Stanley Cup Finals. 2,000 miles northwest of Long Island lies the Northlands Coliseum in Edmonton, Alberta. It's the Islanders and Oilers getting set to go at it again next on USA Sports. Of the Stanley Cup Championship is brought to you by Mobil Super Unleaded Gasoline. Mobil Super Unleaded, it's really powerful. By the Wonder Wagon, the all-new 1984 Toyota van. It fits in the garage. By Levi's, jeans, cords, and shirts for quality and style you can count on. By the Stroh Brewery, makers of Stroh's, Old Milwaukee, and other fine beers. And by Cooper Tools, the difference between work and workmanship. Good evening, everybody. I'm Al Troutwig in Edmonton, and USA Sports is glad you're here along with us for Game 3 of the Stanley Cup Finals, the series best of 7, tied at 1. It is quite interesting following the Oilers and Islanders on their path to the Stanley Cup, and humorous at times. I had the opportunity yesterday to fly with the Islanders on their charter on the way to Edmonton. It was in a quiet little corner of LaGuardia Airport, and the little airliner lifted off the ground. It was decorated with orange, blue, and white crepe paper and pennants and stickers for the Islanders to feel quite at home. As the plane lifted off the ground, the players began to settle in their seats, resting perhaps for what would be their second to last trip of this long NHL season. About a half an hour into the flight, the pilot came on and welcomed everybody aboard and said it should be a smooth flight, about 5 hours and 10 minutes, and then said they should be in good hands because his name was Captain Gretzky and his co-pilot was Captain Semenko. Here in Edmonton, they're sick and tired of hearing the name Islanders after last year's sweep, this year's Stanley Cup Finals rematch, and then minor league baseball. The Trappers, the Edmonton Trappers, are in a long homestand against the Hawaii Islanders. Let's go upstairs to Dan Kelly and Gary Green and find out why the Islanders are doing so well, at least in Game 2 against Edmonton. Dan?
Really, both games, Al, they have held the Edmonton team to just 2 goals against. Gretzky has not scored a goal in the final last year or in 2 games this year. And yet, Gary Green, it's not anybody shadowing Gretzky. It's the Islander team concept of defense. Get your chalkboard out and show us how they're stopping Gretzky and the Oilers.
Here we go. The Edmonton Oilers, once they do get the puck out of their own zone, this is what they're faced with, the neutral ice area. Always 3 men back here, neutral ice. That forces the Oilers to go wide. Not too difficult, or very difficult, I should say, to score from the outside areas. Once they get back into the Islander end zone, the box formation so often happens. And you will see this area totally surrounded here by New York Islander players. They've been shooting out here. Not very good shots from that area. Glenn Sather wants them from in here. Penetrate the zone. That's what's tough to do.
Tough to do against that Islanders, the way they play that defense as you talk about. Meanwhile, Wayne Gretzky said the Oilers may be just a little intimidated by Billy Smith. He says they should shoot more, and they'll try and do that tonight. You think it'll work, Al Troutwig?
Well, Dan, I'm certainly not sure. One thing I do know, and that is Wayne Gretzky has a superstition. We've seen it so many times before. He keeps his jersey tucked in on the back of his shorts. You can bet that jersey will be firmly tucked in tonight as he looks for his first Stanley Cup final goal. The Oilers will be coming out of this locker room in just a moment, as will the Islanders just a few feet to my right. The Oilers know they're a better team than the team who scored but 2 goals in the first 2 games. The thing is, inside that locker room, there is just a little indecision. The team that has scored more goals than any team in the history of the National Hockey League in one season has a little something to think about as they enter Game 3. We're live on USA Sports at the Northlands Coliseum, and we'll be back coast to coast. But first, these messages. Stay with us.
We are back live at the Northlands Coliseum, Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. Game 3 of the 1984 Stanley Cup Final. The Oilers won Game 1, 1-0. The Islanders came bouncing back and won a convincing 6-1 victory in Game 2. The next 3 games will be here in Edmonton. Gary, with that format, 2, 3, and 2, what does it do to the Stanley Cup Final in your opinion?
Well, first of all, Dan, I think that it's to the benefit of all the players. They will be much better rested. We'll get much better hockey. But I think for the New York Islanders, it puts them in a very difficult position, facing these Edmonton Oilers who have been very tough all year long on their home ice in this building for the next 3 games.
This building is normally one of the quietest buildings in the league, but the Oilers are getting quite a reception and quite a send-off into Game 3 from the fans here at the Northlands Coliseum. I can't remember hearing them this noisy here before, Gary.
No, either can I. I think they realize that they can be a tremendous asset to their home team tonight.
And the roar continues here in Edmonton. Listen to this crowd. Well, if the Oilers need any kind of a surge at all, it should be coming from these fans here at the Northlands Coliseum. And they continue to stand and cheer. Meanwhile, we are getting ready for the national anthems, featuring Mr. Paul Lorio.
And on the Kauai organ, Mr. David Lovett plays our national anthems.
Bright stars through the perilous night, for the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets spread a glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there.
officials for tonight's game, the referee, Dave Newell. The two linesmen, John D'Amico and Ray Scampanello. Newell in 17 years in the National Hockey League as a referee. And the starting goaltenders, Billy Smith, 18 games in the playoffs, 12 wins, 6 losses, a 2.20 goals against average. He's given up just 1 goal against in 5 straight playoff games coming into tonight. Grant Pure at the other end, 15 games, 10 wins, 4 losses, 1 shutout, at 3.03 goals against average. The series is tied 1 game apiece. This is game 3. And here we go. Brian Trottier winning the faceoff, and immediately the Islanders' Dennis Potvin to Mike Bossy. Now at center ice to number 27, Tonelli. Shoots one. Pure to his knees to stop that. It was a hard shot to handle. Now the Oilers come out of their own zone. Hughes to Kevin McClelland in behind him. Picked up by Kevin Lowe and shot in. And now Potvin for New York. Clears it back out. Kevin Lowe, number 4, back to get it. And he is able to touch the puck before the Islander player, who was John Tonelli. And as a result, we get an icing call against the Islanders. Here's Al Arbour after his 5th straight Stanley Cup for his Islander club.
Dan, I don't think there's any question as how Al Arbour wants his team to play tonight. But I think Al Arbour has some questions as to how the Edmonton Oilers will play. Will they open things up, try to play the offensive style of game, which they played during the regular season, or will they play a New York Islander type of game like they did in Game 1 when they defeated the Islanders?
The Islanders were almost awesome in Game 2. They controlled and won it 6-1. Now Messier winning a faceoff. Back to the point, a shot. Smith the save on that shot by Randy Gregg. And now Mike Bossy gets it out of the zone. Takes a hit from Glenn Anderson. Loose puck taken at center ice. Jackson back to Gregg. Now ahead to Lindstrom. Lindstrom got it into the zone. Baudelaire to Ken Morrow. Morrow to Greg Gilbert. Gilbert, number 17, over to Trottier. Trottier across the line. Checked, and Lindstrom, number 19, back for Edmonton. Shoots one and off a stick and up over the glass into the crowd here at the Northlands Coliseum in Edmonton. There's Glenn Sather, the GM and coach of the Oilers.
Sather mixed up his lines in practice yesterday and today. He has put Wayne Gretzky with Anderson and Lindstrom, Messier with Semenko and Curry. There you see Messier giving a good hit to Ken Morrow. Somebody they want to key in on. Ken Morrow. Wayne Gretzky says that he is having problems. He's seen enough of Ken Morrow, a great defensive defenseman.
He said he thought that Randy Gregg's feet were the biggest in the league, but now he's convinced that Morrow has the biggest feet. Here's Gretzky back on his old regular line with Semenko and with Gary Curry. They had said they might make a change, but Gretzky is out there with Semenko and Curry. Here's Thomas Janssen for New York, clearing it on the boards. Gretzky intercepting. Center to Curry, a shot. That's blocked. Held in by Huddy. Bouncing puck near Smith. Cleared away, and back comes Brent Sutter to Brian Trottier. Back to Sutter at the Edmonton line. Sutter clearing it in. Flatly behind the net. Huddy took him out. Here's Charlie Huddy to Gretzky. Gretzky check. Brent Sutter to Flatley to Gillies. He scores! Clark Gillies, as that Islander forechecking pays off once again.
Well, very similar to the other night, game number 2. Clark Gillies scoring. He scored a hat trick in game 2. He gets the first one tonight. Watch him. All alone in front of this net area. Edmonton gives up the puck in their own zone. Costly mistake for the Oilers. Clark Gillies has got a hot stick, and he's putting it to use early in tonight's game, beating Pure cleanly.
Clark Gillies gets the goal. Gillies 11th of the playoffs. Pat Flatley gets an assist, as does Brent Sutter. 1:32 the time, and the early goal goes to the Islanders. So it's 1-0 New York. There's a loose puck near the Islander line, now taken by Stefan Persson, number 7. Persson trying to give it to LaFontaine and Pozar. Intercepts. Here's Lee Fogelin for the Oilers. Fogelin shoots one. Smith juggled it, but held onto it, and we get a stoppage in play. For our local systems, we'll pause here. The Stanley Cup Finals are coming to you on USA Sport.
When the Edmonton Oilers score first this year in playoffs, they're 9-0. When they don't, they've won 3 and lost 4.
Here's a drive by Lumley from the faceoff. And Smith a save there. Lumley teed it up and let fly after Linsman won the draw.
Well, they've got to put them by Billy Smith tonight. Take a look right off this faceoff. Good faceoff by Linsman. Right back to Lumley, and he lets it go. Winning those faceoffs, key issue.
Linsman with Pozar and Lumley, the Edmonton forward line. Lumley gets it again. Dropping it to Fogler. His shot blocked at the defense. Now Dwayne Sutter, the number 19 Trottier, who comes to center and dumps it in. You're out of the net to clear it over on the boards to Lumley. Headmanning to Linsman. Number 13, Linsman, slides it into the Islander zone, and Dennis Potvin, number 5, winds it around on right wing to Dwayne Sutter to Clark Gillies at center. Gillies giving it to Butch Goring. Backhander by Goring, and a glove save by Pure. And then Dwayne Sutter gets into it with a couple of the Oilers, and is spun around, and in comes Clark Gillies to do some pushing and shoving. And when Gillies comes in, things usually quieten down in a hurry.
Well, that they do, but besides all of this, the Oilers were at fault, Dan. They allowed Dwayne Sutter to get in there first.
The score, the Islanders 1, Edmonton 0. We'll be back right after this. We got penalties on that last play to Dwayne Sutter of the Islanders to Kenny Linsman of Edmonton. There you see Linsman. 2 minutes each for high sticking. So each team a man short. The Islanders leading 1-0. Here's Edmonton from the faceoff. A pass to Gretzky that he couldn't handle. Now Gretzky right to the bench, replaced by Anderson, and Gordonine couldn't clear it. Here's Anderson. Shoots one wide and high, and then he took a heavy hit from Potvin. There's LaFontaine, number 16 for New York. Matt LaFontaine, the rookie, was checked. Anders Keller drops it back to Dineen. Now to Dennis Potvin. Long pass into the Edmonton zone. LaFontaine breaking in the clear. A shot. Pure, a spectacular save on Keller. I'm not sure if Pure got a piece of it or it hit the post, but they think Pure got a piece of that shot as the Oilers almost gave up the puck again in their own end. Now Paul Coffey back to get it. Here's number 7, Coffey. Leads a rush in, looks for Gretzky, fired it behind the net. Smith out of the net to clear it. Here's Gretzky out in front to Coffey. Shoots one, blocked in front of the net by the defenseman Morrow, and then cleared away by Bossy. Well, Smith was caught out of there, but Morrow, who seems to always be in the right place, was there to stop the shot.
Wayne Gretzky was talking about Ken Morrow, as we had just earlier told you. We'll be talking about him a little bit more even now. Billy Smith caught totally out of that net area. Kenny Morrow coming up with the sliding save. The Oilers have got a little bit frustrated. Watch that good opportunity. Right over to Keller. LaFontaine and Keller all alone in there. Had a good opportunity. But now back in the Islanders' end zone. Look at how far Smith is out of his net. Potvin and Morrow both down. But it was Morrow initially that stopped that puck.
Here is number 6, Ken Morrow. Morrow ahead to Trottier. He lets it go into the Islanders' zone. Trottier races in, gets to it. Got away from Huddy, tried to center. Trottier still with the puck. To Janssen, back to Trottier, but number 22, Huddy, takes over for Edmonton. Ahead to Coffey. Coffey got it to center. Intercepted there by Bossy. Now Gretzky steals it. Gretzky's pass broken up, and back comes Thomas Janssen for New York. Janssen around Coffey. Cutting in, centers to Trottier. Trottier getting turned around. Back to Dennis Potvin. Into the corner now to Bossy. Bossy to Trottier. Trottier to Potvin. Shoots from the point. Pure the save. Rebound. Cleared by Huddy just in time.
Oilers really having some problems in their own end zone. Their passing's not sharp. They look like they've got opening game jitters, and it's game 3.
Here is Wayne Sutter, the team's back at full strength now. Now Messier, number 11, takes over for Edmonton. Messier flipping it up the middle to Anderson, number 9. Into Willie Lindstrom. Lindstrom checked by Boudelier with a poke check before he could shoot. Here's Clark Gillies to Butch Goring. Goring, number 91, shoots high off the glass. Edmonton in their own zone. Messier having difficulty against Wayne Sutter on the boards. Sutter gets it loose, got it near the Oiler goal, and Lee Fogelin for Edmonton works it to Lindstrom, now to Messier, who shoots it to the New York line. Boudelier to Stefan Pearson. He cleared it to center ice to Goring, now to Boudelier. Paul Boudelier skated off by Kevin Lowe and knocked off the puck. And Lowe controls for Edmonton. Lowe losing it. Now Anderson had to come back and help out. Here's Pat Flatley in forechecking aggressively. Trying to center it to Brent Sutter, back to Flatley. Flatley fell as he went to shoot, and the Oilers come back. Here's McClellan, number 24. Trying to get through the defense, checked, and Brent Sutter works to Tonelli, shot to center, picked up by Flatley. Pat Flatley knocked off balance by Don Jackson. Jackson couldn't clear it out, however. There's Randy Gregg for Edmonton. Clearing it over on right wing now to center ice. Here's Hunter for the Oilers, a long shot. Smith the save, rebound, cleared by Morrow. Now Jackson at the point held it in. Gets it to McClellan. McClellan to Hughes. Now Hunter in the slot. Checked before he could shoot. And a penalty coming up against the Islanders and against Brent Sutter. And Edmonton will have a power play chance. For our local systems, we'll pause here. The Stanley Cup Final is coming to you on USA Sports. 13 minutes, 30 seconds left in the first period. The penalty against Brent Sutter of New York, a hooking call. 6:30 the time. And the Islanders have been tremendous in penalty killing of late.
Well, that they have, Dan. In fact, awesome is probably the best word to describe it. Over the course of the last 25 shorthanded situations in 5 games, they have not been scored on once.
So 25 in a row they have killed off, and here's a pass to Goring, who's got a breakaway. And Coffey caught him from behind. Paul Coffey able to just tip it. Goring went down, and the puck went to the corner. Here is Coffey, number 7. Shooting it in. Edmonton on a power play. Huddy now clearing it in behind the net. Dennis Potvin shoots it away to Goring, and Goring picks an opening and clears it out of there. And the Oilers have to go back.
On the power play, let's watch and see if the Oilers try to shoot low. Glenn Sather claims Billy Smith weak on low shot.
Here's Smith clearing it to the corner. Now Gretzky behind the net. Able to center it, but Goring is there for New York to again clear it away.
Billy Smith responded with that one by saying Glenn Sather wasn't much of a goal scorer. How would he have known?
Here's Coffey trying to clear it in. Janssen broke it up, got it to center. Messier, number 11 on this Edmonton power play. Messier now, here's Coffey. Breaking in, number 7, Coffey to Curry. Knocked away from him and Pearson. Feeds it ahead to Tonelli around the defense. Tonelli in on goal. Fuhr the save. Rebound. Oh, and Tonelli shot it wide. As Tonelli had not 1 but 2 great shorthanded chances. Now here's Anderson to Gretzky. He tipped it wide. And Janssen for New York trying to clear it. Messier holding it in. Here's Lowe. Over to Anderson. Now Fogelin shooting Smith to his knees to make the save. 14 seconds left in Brent Sutter's penalty.
And the Edmonton Oilers may be happy that that is all that's left in Brent Sutter's penalty. Butch Goring with a good opportunity. John Tonelli with 2 great opportunities. Watch him. Second effort. He doesn't take himself out of the play. He puts on the brakes, and he finds his own rebound. Grant Fuhr doing some acrobatics, just wasn't able. John Tonelli, that is, able to put that puck in that top corner where he wanted to put it. There you'll see that second chance. Fuhr with those legs sprawling up in the air. John Tonelli, great second effort.
Here's Edmonton from the face-off, clearing it in. Morrow shoots it back out. The Oilers in the playoffs with 14 power play goals at 22.2%. They shoot it in. Morrow trying to clear it out. And Kevin Lowe knocked down by Brent Sutter, and here's Goring breaking away. Goring shoots one, another one. Muir just got a piece of that. Here are the Islanders trying to hold it in, but Edmonton break out, and number 16, Pat Hughes, on right wing moving in. And now back to the play. Play called, and we're going to have some kind of a penalty on that last play away back to the play. The Stanley Cup playoffs are coming to you on USA. We'll be right back. There's Kevin McClellan. He got an interference penalty, 8:49 the time, something that happened away back behind the play.
Well, it was interference on Brian Trottier that got him to the penalty box. Now, New York has got the power play.
Here's Thomas Johnson. The Islanders leading 1-0, and with the man advantage right now in the playoffs, the Islanders 12 power play goals, only a 17.1 percentage. Not near the percentage they've had in other playoff years. But they work it to Clark Gillies, who gives it to Trottier. Number 19, Brian Trottier. Nice drop pass to Johnson, closing in. He shoots. You're the save as he came out about 15 or 20 feet to cut down the angle.
Well, they say, what did you do for me a while ago? I don't care. What did you do for me lately? Well, the Islanders lately have scored 3 power play goals on 11 advantages, 27.3%. That's like the Islanders power play of the old. That's against the Edmonton Oilers.
Meanwhile, Edmonton not a very good penalty-killing team. That's one of their situations. Here's a loose puck taken by Edmonton, and breaking out of there is number 9, Glenn Anderson. Anderson dumping it in. Here's Messier trying to center. He's ridden out of the play by Johnson. Messier still after the puck. Gets it to Anderson. Shoots up high. Off Smith's shoulder and up into the crowd. Well, Edmonton don't kill them off very well, but they're very dangerous when they're short-handed.
I think that was a perfect example. Glenn Anderson's shot, once again from a wide angle. The Islanders are making it very difficult for the Oilers to get inside that slot area. Now, I think it was very wise what Glenn Sather said to do. Bust for that net area. Get right into the slot area. With our speed, they may have to pull us down, in which case they'll keep taking penalties. Don't avoid it, though. Don't just shoot from the perimeter areas. Go for that slot area.
I mentioned Edmonton and their penalty killing. They've given up 19 goals against in the playoffs. A percentage of only 75.6, so they're vulnerable when shorthanded. Here's LaFontaine to Gilbert. He drops it back to Johnson. Now Gretzky intercepts one and was able to get it to Anderson, who poked it to center. Pearson for the Islanders to Johnson. Now to LaFontaine. Moving in. LaFontaine back to Pearson. Over to Johnson. Johnson into the side of the net. Broken up. Here's LaFontaine trying to center one. Coffey is there to intercept it and clears it, and Pearson backtracks to center. Over to Johnson. Just 3 seconds left in the penalty. Here's LaFontaine to Flatley. Penalized player McClellan is back on. And as the drop pass comes to Johnson at the point, he couldn't hold it in. And then Johnson pulled down McClellan. And he'll get a penalty here for interference, in Edmonton will go to work on the power play. For our local systems, we'll pause here. The Stanley Cup Finals are coming to you on USA Sports. Interference call at 10:59.
A very unnecessary penalty on Johnson's part. There was no way that was a dangerous situation. McClellan was not going to be in a breakaway situation. The puck was already the length of the ice. Bad penalty on Johnson's part.
The Islanders have killed off 26 in a row in the playoffs. Let's see how they do here. There's a puck into the corner, and Morrow cleared it around on the boards. Randy Gregg at the point holding it in. His shot goes off Trottier's stick up into the crowd.
This game is authorized under television rights granted by the National Hockey League. Is intended solely for the private non-commercial use of our audience. Any publication, reproduction, retransmission, or other use of the pictures, descriptions, and accounts of this game without the express written consent of the National Hockey League is strictly prohibited.
Edmonton in the power play department of the playoffs, 14 goals, a 22.2 point efficiency. But they've been shut out in the power play over the last 3 games, including the first 2 against the Islanders. And there you see Anders Keller sitting on top of the puck, and we got a stoppage in play.
I'm sure that Glenn Sather's a little concerned about falling behind by that one goal right here at home. I know that he was trying his best to get his players to score that first goal, something that would give them a little bit of confidence. But instead, it's the New York Islanders that scored first, and if anything that they don't need an abundance of, it's confidence. They've got plenty.
Teams that have scored the first goal in the playoffs this year have won 67.2% of the games. So that's the percentage favoring the Auditors because they scored first here tonight. Gillies from Flatley and Brent Sutter at 132. Here's Gretzky to Coffey. A shot deflected wide. Dennis Potvin cleared it. Held in by Coffey. Into the corner. And shot back out again by New York. And Coffey drops it to Gretzky. Number 99, Gretzky. Dropping it to Coffey. Coffey to Messier. Back to Coffey. The Oilers trying to get on track on this power play. Messier. Jacked by Potvin, who cleared it to center. Now it's Gretzky. Dropping it back. And Paul Coffey beats it ahead on the wing, and it's shot in by Charlie Huddy. Billy Smith leaves it for Morrow. Now Coffey at the point. Into Messier. Messier trying to make a play. Into the corner to Gretzky in front. Anderson shot it wide from close in. And then Greg Gilbert clears it out of there and cleared it up over the glass into the crowd.
When the opportunity presents itself, watch Dennis Potvin specifically, the way that he stands up so well. Charlie Huddy and the defense, Paul Coffey, they're trying to rush in. They're trying to carry that puck in. Not having a lot of success. Watch this good opportunity. Anderson right in front of the net area. Gretzky feeds it to him. Anderson lets it go, but wide. Now let's take a look at it once again from way upstairs. You can see the play develop. Gretzky feeding Anderson. Anderson all alone. Gretzky is tricky from that angle. He so often goes behind the net, sets up. This time he thought he fooled Billy Smith. He didn't.
Smith, as I mentioned earlier, has given up just one goal against in 5 straight playoff games. The first 2 against Edmonton, the last 3 against Montreal. Here's Morrow clearing it away for New York. 35 seconds left in the penalty. Fuhr beats Gary Curry. Now Gretzky. Gretzky dumping it in. Here are the Oilers digging in to get it, centering it. Comes to Curry, back to Coffey. Back to Gary Curry. Curry, center to Huddy, off his skate into the corner. Huddy behind the net, gets it to Gretzky. He drops it back to Coffey, shoots! Smith kicked that out with his right leg. Here's Curry behind the net to Gretzky. Gretzky to Linsman. Smith knocked it away from Linsman. Now Gretzky getting it loose in front to Curry. Back to Coffey. Now Gretzky shot it wide. Here's Linsman. Penalized player back on. Gretzky behind the net to Linsman. Out to Curry. Broken up by Goring. Centered again to Curry. Goring tied him up. And Anders Keller starts back for New York. Keller with a long shot wide of the net. Now Charlie Huddy. But the team's at full strength now. Cleared it to Hughes. Broken up and LaFontaine, number 16. Back for New York to Gillies with a rising shot. Muir got a piece of that. Now Huddy, with no place to go, just went to his knees on top of the puck, and we get a stoppage in play. You're watching the Stanley Cup Finals, and this is the USA Network. With Gary Green and Al Troutwig, Dan Kelly with you on the USA Network. It's 1-0 for the Auditors. Here from the face-off in the Edmonton zone, Lee Fogelin around to Kevin Lowe. Lowe feeding it into the center ice area, and here is Glenn Anderson. Takes the shot, now to Lowe, cutting in. He scores! Kevin Lowe with a brilliant move.
He's a pretty good leader. Nifty move by Kevin Lowe. Great leadership on his part. He decided he was going to try and do it himself. This time it paid off. Watch the angle he comes in on Billy Smith. Billy Smith committed himself. He thought he knew what Kevin Lowe was going to do. Kevin Lowe outfooled him.
So it is a 1-1 game. A great move by Lowe on a good setup by Glenn Anderson. Now the Oilers charge back. Here's Pat Hughes cutting in. Put it right through the goal crease. Antonelli for New York cleared it. Trottier is decked by Lee Fogelin with a hard check. Here are the Oilers with Hunter getting it near the Islander line. Trottier to Baudelaire, number 4. Back comes Paul Baudelaire. Low stepped into him. Now Hunter trying to clear it. Morrow shoots from the point. Off a skate. Trottier centered it. Loose in front of penalty coming up against Edmonton. And in front of the net, I believe Fogelin caught the eye of the referee, Dave Newell, and the Oilers will be penalized.
Just shows you the type of team the Islanders are. As soon as they get scored on, they come right back, and look how. Bossy getting pulled to the ground here by Lee Fogelin. The Islanders really made a concerted effort to come back and try to get a goal quickly again. Lee Fogelin forced to pull down Mike Bossy to try and keep that puck out of the Edmonton net.
A holding call, 14:32 the time. By the way, the Edmonton scoring play. Lowe, his third of the playoffs. Anderson and Lindstrom the assists. 13:49 the time. You see John Muckler, the assistant coach of the Oilers, and the man they say when Glenn Sather steps down as coach will probably be the next head coach of the Oilers.
Well, they say Glenn Sather wants to win a Stanley Cup first before John Muckler will get his opportunity.
Now Edmonton short-handed. John Jackson failed to clear the puck. Gets another chance. Works it to Messier. He flips it in, and here's Gretzky going in after it. But Dennis Potvin poked it away. Brent Sutter back to Potvin. Potvin for New York. Ahead to Flatley. Flipping it in. Jackson back for New York, or for Edmonton, I should say. Cleared it. Held in. Jackson gets it again. And to clear it into the corner. Here's Brent Sutter behind the net with Flatley. Jackson and Gregg trying to tie them up. The puck comes loose, and Anderson turns and cleared it high down the ice. Now Flatley trying to get a piece of... Well, here comes Randy Gregg in to grab Flatley. Flatley was trying to get a piece of Glenn Anderson. Now Gilbert takes a bump at Don Jackson. And here goes Jackson with Gilbert. And we have two separate fights underway here. This is Gilbert and Don Jackson. Oh, and Jackson hammers away.
Don Jackson from Minnesota, pretty tough character out there. Big rugged defenseman, giving Greg Gilbert a tough time. But it was Pat Flatley that went back and tried to help out his teammates. A little bit of ganging up going on back along the boards. 2 Oilers, 1 Islander.
Well, they have Flatley and Jackson separated, or pardon me, Jackson and Gilbert separated. The other fight was between Flatley and Randy Gregg. USA Sports is bringing you the Stanley Cup Final. Well, we'll have penalties here. Dave Newell over to the penalty box. Gregg goes in there. First of all for Edmonton.
Pat Flatley has already gone to the Islander dressing room. Well, I guess not quite. He was on his way.
Gone. You're right. He's come back.
I think he thought that he had been sent to the dressing room. 4 minutes, 44 seconds remaining in this period. And I'm sure he would have got a minors or a major, so I'm not quite sure why he didn't go.
And you see the red locks of Dr. Randy Gregg. He's in the penalty box. Newell is just relaying the information now of the penalties to the penalty timekeeper. 1-1 the score. We have the Oilers out shooting the Auditors 11-8 in the opening period so far. By the way, in our upcoming intermission, Islander winger Dwayne Sutter will be Al Trautwig's guest, so stay with us for that. There you see Gretzky at the penalty timekeeper's bench.
Lee Fogelin still has 1 minute and 16 seconds remaining on his penalty. The Islanders, Al Arbor behind the bench. Butch Goring there in the front of your screen had a good opportunity tonight on a shorthanded situation. This young man, Pat Flatley, I think he's just a true Islander, Dan. He did what players would call team togetherness. He saw one of his players in trouble. He went back to defend him. He gains a lot of points from his teammates when he does that.
Meanwhile, they have 4 minutes posted up on the board against Flatley, just 2 against Randy Gregg. I would imagine the other 2 participants, Jackson and Gilbert, will get majors, as they really went to it in a scrap.
Let's take a look and see how that happened. Now, you see, I believe it was Bossy that had gone down along the corner boards, but there were 2 Oiler players. I believe one was Ken Linsman, the other one Randy Gregg, that ended up on top of him.
Pat Flatley gets a double minor for roughing. Greg Gilbert gets a Greg just gets a 2-minute minor for roughing. And Don Jackson gets a 5-minute major for fighting. This is going to mean that right here, the Oilers will be 2 men short, and the Islanders only 1, so a 4-against-3 power play. But eventually, then the Oilers will get a power play because of the double minor to number 8, Pat Flatley.
Well, Dave Newell trying to get things organized, trying to get things stopped before they get started here. Turned out to be a little bit of a chippy first period.
Here's Kevin Lowe, scored that great goal for Edmonton to tie this game. Now number 5, Dennis Potvin. A 4-against-3 power play for New York. There's Trottier. Back to Persson at the point. Into Bossy. Back to Persson. Back to Bossy. To Persson again. Fakes the shot. Feeds Bossy. Shooting. Pure. Makes the save. Trottier in the corner. Drops it to Bossy. Now Persson. Over to Bossy. Back to Potvin. His shot blocked by Huddy. Potvin again to Trottier. Now to Persson. Over on the wing to Bossy. To Persson. Over to Bossy. Back to Persson. He missed it, and the puck comes to center ice, and the Islanders have to retreat.
After all that beautiful passing, miscued on Potvin and Bossy's part, they had good opportunity.
There's the loose puck taken by Trottier to Bossy. Bossy fakes the shot, dropping it to Persson. To Bossy again. Bossy moving in to Persson. Into the corner to Trottier, centered, but Kevin Lowe is there to shoot it away for Edmonton. And now Fogelin is back on. Each team a man short at this point. A little later, Edmonton will get a power play. Here's Curry to Gretzky. Broken up by Janssen, the last man back. And Coffey now clearing it to the Oiler line. Curry knocks it down and feeds Fogelin. Lee Fogelin to center ice. Flipping it in, and Paul Baudelaire, number 4, back for New York. They rule the puck had been hit by a high stick, and play is called.
I don't think Al Arbour would be too happy on that 4-on-3 situation. I'm sure he asked his players, what are you doing? Practicing your passing out there? Your passing was beautiful, but where were the scoring opportunities? No player in the world would rather be anyplace else than on a 4-on-3 situation. When you've got that power play opportunity, let it go. Get in there. Trying to work the puck around, but shoot out there as well. Something the Islanders did not do. Not that time they didn't.
Now you see Harry Curry, a big season for him and a big playoff, but he's been criticized for his ineffectiveness in the first 2 games of this series. Curry controlling the puck right now. He leads all playoff goal scorers with 13. Back to Lowe, now to Fogelin. Each team a man short, but Gregg will be back on in 5 seconds. And then Edmonton will have the man advantage. Fogelin dumps it in. Here's Gregg back on, and Edmonton on a power play right now. Flatley has a minute 55 left in his penalty. Fogelin in there to try and force a faceoff, but he gets the job done. And the faceoff will be to the right of the Islander goal.
Interesting. Lee Fogelin was the defenseman that carried that puck into the Islanders' end zone for the Oilers. Glenn Sather had instructed his defensemen today at practice and yesterday to start getting up, move up with that play. Our forwards are having problems, lots of 3-on-3 situations, make it 4-on-3 situations. Well, Butch Goring and the Islanders, I'm sure, read that in the newspaper today. They may be back-checking a little bit harder to get back and help out the defense, knowing the Oilers have got some pretty good rushing defensemen.
The Oilers have scored only 3 goals in this series so far, and 2 of the 3 have come from defensemen. What's happened to all these high-scoring Oiler forwards?
Well, they're not being shadowed, but they're sure being watched closely.
Here's Kenny Lindsman, number 13. Leads this power play rush, gets it across the line to Coffey. Coffey shoots, fired it wide. Now Huddy at the other point. In behind the net to Messier. Messier letting it go. Coffey gets it. And now in front of the net, Lindsman. And Tonelli got tied up, and we'll get penalties there against both.
I think Ken Lindsman was trying his best to lure John Tonelli into taking a penalty. But I believe that Ken Lindsman was guilty of taking one as well. Just watch to the right of your screen in that slot area. There you see Tonelli, number 27, and Lindsman battling away. Referee Dave Newell says we'll get them both off the ice. I can't decide which one is more guilty than the other.
Meanwhile, with Flatley already in the box and serving a penalty, these coincident minors won't go on the clock, and it will continue to be a 5-against-4 power play, excluding goaltenders for Edmonton. It is Messier, Gretzky, and Anderson up front. Now Coffey has the puck at the point. Over to Anderson. Glenn Anderson trying to center one. Anderson does get it free to Messier. In front to Gretzky. Potvin blocked his shot. And Goring gives it to Brent Sutter. Brent Sutter couldn't get around the only man back, Paul Coffey. Sutter goes in there, ties up Coffey on the play. Now the Oilers coming out of their own zone, led by Messier. Mark Messier closely checked, so closely that Anderson went in ahead of the play offside. These Islanders don't give you much room or much time.
They sure don't. Butch Goring, he was the key member on that back-checking squad. He came back. He was not guilty of hooking, just the little sharp pulls that he was able to give Mark Messier with that stick of his. Just enough to slow Messier down, take away his puck control, something that Butch Goring is very, very practiced at doing.
54 seconds left in Flatley's penalty, 1:38 left in the period. It's New York 1, Edmonton 1. Gilly scoring for the Auditors. Kevin Lowe for Edmonton. Puck is shot in by the Oilers and immediately up over the glass, and they'll have the face-off again outside the Islander blue line. Brent Sutter and Anders Keller are out to kill off the penalty. Potvin Morrow on defense. The Edmonton power play now has Gretzky, Curry, and Pozar up front. Coffey and Fogelin the point men. Actually, it's Coffey and Randy Gregg the point men. Here is Coffey. Moving in, centered one off Morrow's stick, and it goes up over the glass. Gretzky has a point about Morrow. I don't know if his feet are the biggest in the league, but he sure gets in the road with that long reach of his, doesn't he?
Well, that he does. Ken Morrow is just such a intelligent defenseman. He's very patient out there, waits for his opportunities. He reads the play. He stands back in that almost flat-footed defensive style of his and just watches where that puck may end up, and so often he intervenes.
Here's Gretzky against Brent Sutter. Important face-off in the Islander zone. Still 40 seconds left in the New York penalty. Gretzky gets the draw to Coffey. Coffey's shot blocked, and Brent Sutter and cleared it away. Coffey back to get it, drops it back to Randy Gregg. Here's Gregg into Pozar, offside at the Islander line. And the Islanders still have 29 seconds to kill in the penalty to Pat Flatley.
Anders Keller, one of the 3 Swedish players playing for the New York Islanders. Meanwhile, Wayne Gretzky, he didn't make any bones about it the last couple of days. He just came right out and said, I have got to start to produce. I have to start tonight.
Here's Morrow from the face-off. Dennis Potvin cleared it and cleared it up over the boards right into the penalty box. And so the face-off will be back just inside the Islander blue line.
When Gretzky was
40 goals scored during the regular season.
Well, Dan, I was just about to say, when Wayne Gretzky made that statement about himself, he also mentioned the likes of Mark Messier and Paul Coffey, 3 very offensive, packed hockey players that can make any goaltender shiver, but not Billy Smith, because he's had excellent success against those three in particular. Paul Coffey, he may well win that Best Defenseman award this year. He and Rod Langway candidates.
Here's the puck shot in by Edmonton. Back to get it as Morrow cleared it out, and Goring breaks down with Kaller. A 2-on-1 break. Back to Kaller. Kaller shoots and shot it wide. And the Islanders have had some dangerous chances all evening when they've been shorthanded. Now Gretzky after a loose puck. Out of the net, Smith. And Smith just flipped it up over the glass into the crowd. The penalized player, Flatley, is back on. And the Islanders have now killed off 28 straight penalties in the playoffs.
You can see the eyes behind that mask. Billy Smith means business, whether at home or on the road. That concentration is enormous. Meanwhile, the Islanders have had great success tonight, at least on scoring opportunities when they've been killing that penalty. Watch Kaller and Goring. Kaller just shoots wide. As the play went up the ice, Anders Kaller pulled down Glenn Anderson. The referee can't see everything, but believe me, about 16,000 people here did.
42 seconds still to play in the period. The penalized player, Flatley, is back on, so the teams are at full strength. Big face-off in the Islanders zone. Won by Trottier, but the Oilers come up with the puck, trying to center it. Now, Pat Hughes taken out of the play by Brent Sutter, who kicks it to Gillies. And Clark Gillies beats Janssen. Thomas Janssen moving in. Fake the shot, then let it go. Weak one. Here's Gillies trying to slide it through. Lowe can't clear it. Here's Trottier with a chance wide. Now Trottier centered. Cleared away by Hunter. And now Lowe behind his own goal. Clearing it over for Fogelin. 10 seconds left in the period. Fogelin to Hughes. Broken up at center by Trottier. And Trottier, number 19, gives it to Gillies, who dumps it in as the buzzer goes to end period one of this, the third game of the Stanley Cup Final. Shots on goal, very even in the first period. The Edmonton Oilers had 11. The New York Islanders had 10. That's Dwayne Sutter, number 12, the hard-working winger of the Islanders. He'll be Al Trudwick's guest coming up in our intermission. The score after one period of play, the Edmonton Oilers won. The New York Islanders won. Our first intermission is getting ready. We'll be back in just a few minutes. The score after one period of play, the New York Islanders won, the Edmonton Oilers won. The scoring summary of the opening period: Gillies scored for the Islanders at 132, his 11th of the playoffs. Kevin Lowe tied it for Edmonton, 13:49, his third of the playoffs. Shots on goal pretty close, Edmonton 11 and the Islanders 10. Here's the first goal of the game by Clark Gillies. He's red hot in the playoffs, isn't he?
Well, that he is, but a little miscue there. Charlie Huddy did not get that pass where he wanted to, but Clark Gillies certainly put that puck where he wanted it to go. Take a look again. That first period of play, the Oilers had a lot of problems in their own end zone. This was a perfect example.
They really did. The Oilers, the home team tonight, seem to be very tight in their puck handling in their own end and really in the Islander end of the rink too. Perhaps as this game goes along, they will settle down. Now the tying goal by Kevin Lowe. What a great goal he scored.
Well, it really was just a beautiful goal. Something that Glenn Sather had asked his defenseman to do. Go with it. Well, Glenn Anderson put a beautiful fake shot, a pass over right on Kevin Lowe, but a nifty move by Kevin Lowe. Pretty smart defenseman.
Smith made the first move, and Lowe just stepped around him and put it into the net. And now we get ready for second period action. Any other comments, Gary, on the first period action?
Well, I just think that perhaps the Oilers are a little fortunate that the Islanders did not make it 2 or 3-0. They had the chances early.
Here we go with second period action. The team's back at full strength, but 2 players are still in the penalty box serving 5-minute majors as a carryover from the first period, namely Greg Gilbert and Don Jackson. But the team's not playing shorthanded because of those coincident major penalties.
Well, I get back to that point. I think at that point in time, when the Islanders had gone ahead on Gillies' goal, they had a couple of good chances, 1 by Goring, 2 by Tonelli. Had they scored on those chances, it really would have put the Oilers in a deeper trouble. But instead, the Oilers did have a chance to come back. Kevin Lowe getting that goal, and now it's a brand new hockey game.
There's Trottier thrown out of the faceoff, but Brent Sutter is also on the ice, as is Al Arbour's usual custom, having 2 center icemen out for faceoffs in his own end. And Messier gets the draw, however, back to Kevin Lowe. Shot in behind the net. Janssen cleared it around, and Trottier is able to deflect it down into the Edmonton zone. Lowe back to get it. Now to number 19, Willie Lindstrom, the veteran Swedish player. In the corner is Lowe. Back to the net to Fogelin. Fogelin working it out on right wing to Lindstrom, number 19. Here's Willie Lindstrom trying to go around Potvak, gets it in front, cleared away by Tonelli, held in by Huddy, and a low shot steered away by Smith. Potvak cleared it. That hit the referee, but goes right to Pat Flatley, number 8. Flatley cleared it, and Huddy takes over for Edmonton, over to Coffey. Now to center ice to Anderson, off his skate, and into the Islander zone. Baudelaire to Janssen, and Thomas Janssen comes right back for New York. Janssen shoots one, partially blocked at the defense, and when it trickled through, Fuhr was able to cover up on it.
Well, Grant Fuhr made a couple of key saves in that first period. He has really had an excellent playoff series. If you remember back a couple of years ago, and last year in particular, Grant Fuhr had a tough season, but this past year, Fuhr got back into game shape, played an excellent part of the Oilers' success during the course of the regular season, and has really been their number 1 goaltender throughout the course of playoffs.
Now Trottier, Gilbert, and Bossy up front for New York. Here's the face-off with Messier winning the draw and clearing it back of his own goal to Coffey. Coffey to McClellan, number 24. Now to Messier, but broken up by Morrow. Kenny Morrow circles back, and when he went back deeper in his own zone, then the delayed offside was whistled down, and we'll have a face-off at the New York blue line. If Morrow, of course, had cleared the puck immediately out, then the offside would have been waived.
Well, looking at the 2 benches, Glenn Taylor having some words with his players right now, and I'm sure a lot of those words are centered around the fact of get away from Trottier out there.
It is McClelland, Hunter, and Hughes, the Edmonton forward line. The Editors, led by Ken Morrow, come to center. Morrow moving in, dropped it back, but Hughes intercepts. Hughes ahead to number 12, Dave Hunter. Hunter ridden out of the play by Baudelaire. And Hunter is going to get a penalty for the way he roughed up Baudelaire. He got his elbow up. And Dave Hunter will go to the penalty box for Edmonton. From Maine to Hawaii, you're watching the Stanley Cup Finals on USA. There you see Hunter of the Oilers in the penalty box, an elbowing call. 1:55 the time, one of those penalties in the offensive zone that drives the coach crazy.
Well, a little bit of mugging, a little bit of holding. I think Paul Baudelaire might have thought he was in the New York subway system right there. Dave Hunter being guilty, going to the penalty box for the 2 minutes, and the Islanders on the power play.
Here's Dennis Potvin flipping it to Bossy. Mike Bossy dumping it in. Here comes Trottier in for New York. Behind the net to Gillies. Back to Trottier. Trottier centered. Janssen feigned on his shot. It goes to the corner. Gillies beats Trottier. Back to Janssen. His shot hits Gretzky. Trottier pokes to Janssen. Over to Potvin. Back to Janssen. In on right wing to Trottier to Bossy. A shot. Vogelin slid in front, but Buer made the save and held on to it.
It's easy to see why the Islanders are passing the puck around the way they're doing. They're trying to get that best shot away from the slot area. Now watch Bossy. He parks himself in the slot area. The Islanders had moved the puck around until they were able to get Bossy that perfect shot. Now that is the way to get the best scoring opportunities. It can sometimes be very frustrating if you can't feed that man in the middle. Bossy's the right guy to feed.
Here's Janssen for New York to Potvin into Bossy. Bossy to Gillies. Drops to Potvin. Over to Janssen. Now back to Bossy in front to Gillies. Couldn't control it. There's Trottier behind the net. Now to Gillies. Clark Gillies. To Trottier. Back to Gillies. He scores! Clark Gillies remains red hot. His 5th goal in the last 2 games. And the Islanders lead it 2-1.
Clark Gillies seemingly can do no wrong. His passing has been sharp. His scoring has been something else. Take a look at that shot. Beating Fuhr high and the glove save. What a wicked drive by Clark Gillies. Great setup by Trottier. There you see it from behind the net area.
Gillies has now scored as many goals in the playoffs as he did all through the regular season. That's his 12th of the playoffs, and he had the same number in regular season play. A power play goal. Here are the Oilers moving in, but they move offside at the Islander blue line. When I talk about those playoff figures, Gillies has 12 goals in this, the Islanders' 19th playoff game. Trottier and Bossy the assist, 2:54 the time, a power play goal.
Watch it again. If the Islanders had any lack of confidence in their power play earlier in playoffs, they're not showing it now. Clark Gillies being a big reason for that.
They had 3 of their goals on the power play in Game 2, and they scored once here tonight.
I think it's evident, Dan, the way that the Islanders are moving the puck around. They've had good possession. The Oilers were not forcing them, just trying to keep every Islander player out of that box area. Unfortunately, it didn't pay off.
So the penalty to Hunter proved costly, and New York has the lead. Now, number 27, Dave Semenko, dropping the puck to Paul Coffey. Cleared it in. Gretzky almost had it, but Baudelaire is there to clear it. Now Huddy into Gretzky. Gretzky turned around in the corner, knocked down, and Brent Sutter will get a penalty here. Delayed penalty coming up, and it will be called now as Morrow gets possession. Exclusive national coverage of the Stanley Cup Finals is only on USA Sports. There you see Brent Sutter, a holding call, 3:34 the time. He pulled Gretzky down.
Well, that's called tight coverage on Wayne Gretzky, something that Trottier and Brent Sutter have been able to do, but this time Brent Sutter is going to pay the price for it. 2 minutes for holding was that call.
Well, the Islanders shorthanded and leading 2-1. They've killed off 28 in a row, however, and the Islanders immediately clear at the link to the ice. Buer out of the net. Sets it up for Coffey. Coffey and Huddy, the point men. Up front, they have Gretzky, Curry, and Semenko. Here's Coffey to Semenko. Couldn't handle the pass. And back comes Dennis Potvin, firing it into the Edmonton zone. Paul Coffey back to get it. Coffey feeds Jari Kurri. Kurri ahead to Huddy. The puck into the Islanders zone. Huddy takes Potvin out of the play, trying to center. Now cleared by Morrow. Held in by Coffey at the point. Into the corner to Kurri, back to Coffey. To Jari Kurri. Shooting! Smith got a piece of that. Now Gretzky. Centered out in front. Morrow cleared it. And Butch Goring shoots it away.
You can see some of the work by Dave Semenko in front of Billy Smith. He expressed some concern about his teammates as well. He said, if I'm going to stand in front of that net, let's get some shots away.
Here's Messier with a quick wrist shot wide. Now Randy Gregg to Messier. Back to Lowe at the point. Shooting! Fired wide of the net. Centered by Edmonton. Now Gretzky behind the goal. Gretzky in front to Messier. Messier trying to drop it back, but tipped away by Tonelli. And Lowe gives it to Randy Gregg. Gregg dropping it back, and Lowe has to circle back. 28 seconds left in the Islander penalty. Here's Lowe clearing it, broken up by Morrow. Now carried in by Lindsman, but offside at the Islander blue line.
Something of note right now out on the ice. Very evident how smart the Islanders are. Every last one of the Oiler players is a left-hand shot. The Islanders were conscious of trying to force them to come up the right boards, therefore having to pass on their backhand the majority of the time, and they were forcing them on that first pass. The Oilers were having difficulty getting that puck where they wanted it, and that was on the stick of their teammate. Some bad passing by the Oilers, but then again, it's not easy to pass on your backhand.
The Oilers' second best power play in the regular season and pretty good average in the playoffs, but they've run into a stone wall in this Islander penalty killing group.
Well, the Islanders are a tenacious group of penalty killers. They take that one swing at you in your end zone, then let you come back, but they attack you in the neutral ice area, something Mark Messier has found very frustrating. Messier has such great speed, though. I think that he is one of the players in particular, Glenn Anderson another, that should be utilizing those outside lanes that the Islanders so often give you. Take the puck, go with it, go wide on it. He was successful in game one at getting some opportunities.
The Islanders have killed off 29 of 30 penalties against Edmonton in the finals this year and last year. In the last 30 penalties, they've been assessed. And they just about have this one killed off. Edmonton's Messier poking it in. Janssen back to get it. Cleared it. Broken up by Fogelin at center ice. Fogelin shot it in. Now the Islanders are back at full strength. Here's Gilbert passing it ahead for Brent Sutter, who's just out of the penalty box, and shoots it into the Edmonton zone. The puck comes all the way back out to center ice off the boards. Morrow for New York. Clearing it, and here's Kenny Lindsman. Ahead to Messier. Into number 9, Anderson. Glenn Anderson drops it back to Fogelin. Fogelin checked on the play by Trottier. And Trottier, a perfect pass to Bossy. One man back. Bossy shoots. Muir just got a piece of that. Waist-high rocket by Bossy. Now into the corner, Anderson fell down. Picking it up is Hunter, number 12. Bossy tied him up. Now it's Anderson, number 9 for Edmonton. Shoots one, glove save by Billy Smith, and he held on to it. For our local systems, we'll pause here. You're watching the Stanley Cup Final on USA Sports. 2-1, the Islanders leading Edmonton, 13:33 left in the second period. Here's McClellan winning a face-off to Gregg. Shot and Smith to save, and McClellan going to the net. But Smith held on to it, and a couple of the Islanders tell Kevin McClellan about how aggressive he was around the Islander goaltender Smith.
This line with McClellan at center ice and Hunter on his wing, usually Hughes on the opposite wing, or a grinding line. That's what they're doing out there right now, doing some grinding. Smith comes up with a save, but there's Kevin McClellan right there to bother Billy Smith. Just in case Smith may have given up a rebound, McClellan was going to be right on the spot.
Smith has a 2.20 goals against average this year in the playoffs, and has given up just 1 goal against in the last 5 games. Here's Jackson holding it in to Hughes. He gets it into the corner, and McClellan for Edmonton trying to center. Hughes back into the corner for Hunter. Hunter behind the net to McClellan. Now McClellan ridden out of the play. Hughes dumping it back in behind the goal. McClellan can't get it. And here's Trottier dropping it to Pearson. Now Hunter gets it to Hughes in front of the net. Cleared away by Gillies, who was covering his man in the slot area.
I don't think it's any secret why Hunter, McClellan, and Hughes are successful and have been the Oilers' best line so far in this series. They're a grinding type of line, a line that is very effective against the New York Islanders, the same style.
Here's Hunter trying to center one, gets it to Gretzky. Back to Hunter, but tipped away by Pearson. Now Gillies battling on the boards to Trottier. Here's a 2-on-1 Islander play. Trottier to Bossy, shooting. Stick save by Pure. Right back comes Gretzky. Here's a 3-on-2 Edmonton break. Gretzky's shot blocked by Dineen. Now centered. Bozar deflected it wide. Here's Huddy, checked by Trottier. And Tonelli for New York works at the center ice to Bossy. Over to Potvin. The Islander captain Potvin to Bossy. Drops it to Potvin. Potvin centering one. Pass in behind LaFontaine and Yeri Curry. Flips it to center, and here's Gretzky. Cleared to Pozar. Knocked it down with a high stick, and that causes play to be stopped, and the faceoff moved outside the Islander blue line.
Noise level getting a little high in this building at times. I don't think Yaroslav Pozar, number 10 for the Oilers, could hear that whistle, but he should have known why. High sticking was the call. Just prior to that puck being whistled down, a little bit earlier, the Islanders with a good opportunity. Trottier and Bossy on the breakaway. Watch this pass by Trottier over to Bossy. Bossy lets go with a good hard wrist shot. Grant Fuhr coming up with a save.
Now back to the live action, and immediately the Oilers move in offside at the Islander blue line. There's John Tonelli. I don't know if there's any harder working player in the game of hockey today. He hustles every game you see him play.
His teammates today said that he's like a wild horse out there.
Here's the centering pass. Messier now for Edmonton. To Lowe, and it's blocked at the defense by Dineen. Dineen now on the boards. Able to clear it ahead, and Brent Sutter works it to Flatley. Back to Brent Sutter. Knocked away by Fogelin. Back the Oilers come, led by Messier. Messier moving in. Shoots. He scores! Mark Messier!
Great move by Mark Messier. Watch him. He's going down on Potvin and Dineen. Look at the move he put on Gordy Dineen. And then rifled that puck right by Billy Smith. Great action, great move by Messier. Pretty tough for Gordy Dineen to defend against a high flyer like Mark Messier, maybe one of the faster players in the NHL.
Messier's sixth goal of the playoffs. His first of this series. And the Oilers come back in this game to tie it for the second time.
Look at this. Because Messier's a left-hand shot, I'm sure Gordy Dineen thought he was going to go to the outside, but Messier's great agility. He pulled to the inside. Smart move, smart shot.
Here's Lumley right back for Edmonton. Smith stopped that. Now Pozar centering one. But the Islanders break it up and feed it to center. Gillies was knocked down, and Randy Gregg has it for Edmonton. Now Pozar, number 10, cleared it in. Linsman couldn't get around Janssen. Here's Butch Goring, but play had been called on an offside. Nobody heard the whistle. With the score, New York 2, Edmonton 2. A reminder, USA Sports is bringing you the Stanley Cup Finals. This standing room only crowd of over 17,000 comes alive again. Messier getting that last Edmonton goal, is 6th of the playoffs. Vogel in the assist, 8:38 the time. It's tied 2-2. Twice the Islanders have taken the lead. Twice the Oilers have come back to tie it. Now it's Butch Goring for New York. Randy Gregg checked him, and Linsman beats Pozar. Now to Lumley. Pass was in his skates. He couldn't handle it. And then the play goes offside anyway, and Lumley and Boudelier collide heavily after the whistle.
This crowd here tonight, Dan, we talked about it the first of the game, but they're 10 times louder than I've ever heard them before. Of course, when you think back to last year in the Stanley Cup Finals against the Islanders, they really didn't have a lot to cheer about, with the Islanders winning both games in this building and then going back and winning in New York 4 straight. A little bit different story this year.
Here's that grinding line that Gary talked about earlier for Edmonton. McClelland, Hunter, and Hughes. They're out against Trottier, Gilbert, and Bossy for New York. This is Pearson for the Islanders to Gilbert. And Gilbert clears it to center. Racing back is Coffey to get it for Edmonton. Paul Coffey off the boards at center ice. Oh, and Hunter wrecking against the boards by Gilbert. Back comes Bossy. Bossy trying to center. Couldn't get his stick on it. He had Gilbert wide open in front of the net. Now Bossy drops it back, but it comes out of the zone, and Pearson back with Baudelaire. Back to Pearson. Up to Trottier. Number 19, Brian Trottier. To Paul Baudelaire. Baudelaire upended, and Edmonton will get a tripping penalty right here. And the Islanders in this 2-2 game will get a power play as Yaroslav Pozar goes to the penalty box.
Meanwhile, Dan, I think on that last play, Dave Hunter got hurt badly. Let's take a look at how that penalty come about. There you see, right in the center ice area, number 10, Yaroslav Pozar, very guilty, and right in front of the eyes of Dave Newell. Meanwhile, I mentioned that Dave Hunter really slammed into the boards right along the penalty box area just before Yaroslav Pozar ended up in there, and I think that he may have hurt his shoulder.
Well, we'll have Game 4 in this series coming your way on Thursday night from this same Northlands Coliseum. Game time will be again 9 Eastern time here on USA. Game 4 this Thursday night. Here are the Islanders in this 2-2 game on a power play. They're 1 for 4 tonight in the power play. Here's Messier trying to clear it. Couldn't. Now LaFontaine gets it loose out in front. Shoots! Missed by about a foot with a quick shot. Wayne Anderson for Edmonton. Able to clear the zone. LaFontaine comes back, giving it to Flatley. Now to John Pinelli. Pinelli to Flatley. Around to LaFontaine. Dropped it back. Potvak couldn't hold it in at the point. And the Islanders have to back up. Here's Janssen. Now ahead as Pinelli moves in. Drops it to Janssen. Over to Potvak. Potvak into Bossy. Bossy dropped it back. Potvak couldn't hold it in again. And the Islanders have to go back once more.
Bossy and Potvak have miscued about 3 times now on the power play tonight. They have not really been sharp on their passing back and forth to each other.
Here is Mike Bossy. Into the Edmonton zone for Bossy, number 22. Behind the net to Trottier. Now to Janssen. Shoots one. Pure the save. Rebound to Bossy. Back to Janssen. Janssen into Bossy. Behind the net to Gillies. Gillies check. Now Bossy trying to center it. To Janssen at the point. Shoots one. That deflects wide. Here's Bossy. Back to Janssen. Islanders on the power play. Potvak to Janssen. Puck is tipped away from Bossy, and Randy Gregg cleared it around in the boards. And this is really the first time the Oilers have had possession during this short-handed situation, and they cleared away. 12 seconds left in the Edmonton penalty. Janssen ahead to Trottier. Lowe knocked it down. And then it's cleared away by Messier. Dennis Potvak for New York. Shooting it in. Lowe is there. Pozar back on. And Pozar took that pass offside, a 2-line offside. The pass coming from inside the Oiler blue line to the Islander side of center. For our local systems, we'll pause here. You're watching the Stanley Cup Final on USA. Gary Green uses mentioned that Dave Hunter was injured that last shift, and he'd just gone to the dressing room. Here's Pearson for the Islanders to Baudelaire. Shoots. Pure the save. Rebound, and Keller couldn't control it in front of the net, and then his shot went wide. Here's Fogelin over on the boards to Anderson, who pokes it to center ice, and Baudelaire back for New York to Pearson. Pearson to Gilbert. Here's Gilbert for New York, number 17. Flipped it through, but intercepting it was Glenn Anderson. Now to Lindstrom. Now Messier gets it and shoots it in. Baudelaire, number 4, back after it. This pass to Persson. Persson cleared it to center. Gilbert knocks it down, and here's Lindstrom getting it into the Islander zone, but Paul Boudelier, number 4, has it. To Gilbert, now to center ice to Anders Keller. Keller moving in, but in ahead of the play. Brent Sutter, number 21, offside to put the play offside at the Edmonton blue line.
Now you take a look at Anders Keller there that is seeing some duty on the Islanders' 4th line. Now watch Keller in front of that net area, had an excellent opportunity. After 4, number 4, Paul Boudelier got a good shot. Something that Boudelier has been improving upon. He's just trying to get that puck on the net, and as you can see on that particular play, Keller had a good opportunity as a result of it.
There's Gretzky out battling Goring to the puck, clears it in. Wayne Sutter back to get it, shot it to center. The Oilers at center ice, Charlie Huddy shooting it in. Janssen clearing it back out. Held in by Huddy for Edmonton. Closing in, shoots! That's Semenko trying to deflect it, but Smith made the save. And there you see Big Semenko doing what the Oilers want him to do, screening and bothering Billy Smith. And he just about did.
Well, with that size and strength, he's very capable of giving Billy Smith a lot of trouble in front of that net area. Kenny Morrow and Thomas Janssen not quite back there quickly enough. You'd like to have one of your defensemen right on top of Semenko to make sure he doesn't get a second whack at it. But then again, it helps when Billy Smith doesn't give up many rebounds.
Face-off between Kenny Linsman and Brian Trottier to the left of the Islander goal. 2-2 the score, 6:39 left in the second period. On the face-off, Trottier and the Islanders win it. They drop it back. Smith had to clear it away. Now Janssen shoots it on the boards to Gillies. Gregg tied him up, but Gillies trying to clear it, drops it back to Janssen, who fires it off the boards down the other wing. And Don Jackson chases back. They ruled Jackson could have played the puck, so there's no icing. Jackson trying to clear it. Now Randy Gregg off the boards, but intercepted by Janssen. Now Gillies checked, and Posar gives it to Randy Gregg. Gregg dumping it into the Islander zone. Smith out of the net, and Posar crashed into Smith behind the goal. Here's Trottier trying to clear it. Couldn't, but the Islanders break back with Bossy leading the rush. Bossy shoots one. Stop that, and Jackson, number 29, clears to Posar. Posar, who ran into Smith moments ago, now taken out of the play by Trottier. Over comes Linsman, and now Trottier. And Posar almost get into it. Now in steps Don Jackson. And we get a stoppage in play. Exclusively on USA Sports, it's the NHL Stanley Cup Final. Well, we get penalties on that last play against Trottier and against Posar, and so each team will be a man short. That all resulted from the earlier collision between Posar and Billy Smith.
Billy Smith goes behind that net. He's fair game, as they say. Yaroslav Posar decided he'd try to run Billy Smith right over in pursuit of that puck. Gives Yaroslav Posar all the credit in the world.
Roughing penalties against Trottier and Posar, and so each team a man short. A 2-2 game here late in the second period. This is Kevin Lowe, number 4. Lowe has scored one of the Edmonton goals, giving it to Fogelin. Fogelin, number 2, in his own end of the rink. Now fired it to Lowe, who couldn't get it, but Pat Hughes does, to Lowe. Lowe at center ice, dropping it to Fogelin. Fogelin clearing it into the Islander zone, and Dennis Potvin drops it to Persson. Stefan Persson over on the boards to Tonelli. Checked by Fogelin, got it behind the net. Now McClellan tied up by Persson and given a rough ride. LaFontaine trying to clear it. Oilers hold it in. Back goes Tonelli for New York. John Tonelli. Pass for LaFontaine was behind him and will go the length of the ice. Kevin Lowe back to touch it. And icing called, and then LaFontaine ran into Lowe after the whistle. And Tonelli gets into it now with Lowe. By the way, Kevin Lowe will be Al Trautwig's guest in our upcoming intermission.
Pat LaFontaine trying to race back for that puck, trying to touch it before Kevin Lowe did. Was not successful. LaFontaine hurt his ankle. And supposedly that's back to 100%, yet he has not really seen the same ice time that he was receiving from Coach Al Arbor near the end of the season and the first part of playoffs. Then again, with the play of Brent Sutter, Trottier, and Goring, pretty tough lineup to crack at center ice.
The Islanders tonight still without 3 key regulars, including Bob Bourne. Here's Edmonton from the faceoff, trying to center. Smith dives out to cover up on it, as that puck was centered from behind the net.
Mark Messier tying this game up with a tremendous move. Mark Messier has been moved to center ice. And we will remember him in the years past as the all-star left winger in the NHL.
Here's Coffey at the point. His shot blocked. Back comes Butch Goring, number 91. Cleared at the center. Knocked down, and Charlie Huddy has the puck. Huddy clearing it to center ice. Now Messier knocks it away. Here's Brent Sutter for New York. Feeding it to Bossy. Can't catch up with the pass. Bossy given a rough ride by Huddy. Now Bossy to Brent Sutter. Back to Bossy. Shot it wide. Missed by about a foot. And Edmonton cleared around on the boards. Here's Huddy to Anderson. Number 9. Lynn Anderson. Slap shot with Morrow blocked. Now Anderson again. Back to Gretzky. Gretzky checked by Johnson. And Johnson for New York on left wing. Into the Edmonton zone, and Randy Gregg has it for the Oilers to Yari Curry. Curry racing in, but Morrow shot it around on the board. To Johnson, now to Gillies. Now Curry cleared it in. Gretzky knocked down. Johnson back to get the puck over to Trottier. And Trottier for New York cleared it. Jackson shot it back in. Cleared back out again and dumped back in once more by Edmonton. Here's Johnson shooting it on the boards and going back to get it. Number 29, Jackson, clearing it to Pozar. Pozar in, now drop pass, and Curry shot wide of the net. Here's Fogelin shooting from the point. Into the corner. Gretzky couldn't get it. Into the opposite corner, and Dwayne Sutter has it for New York. Loses to Gretzky. Gretzky centered, but Gillies intercepted. And now the checking gets very close in this game.
Oilers really giving the Islanders some problems forechecking-wise. Islanders had a tough time getting out of their own zone. That was the change.
Goring getting it to Tonelli as the Islanders forecheck. Kevin Lowe kicks the puck loose. And here's Hunter, number 12, flipping it down into the Islanders zone with Dennis Potvin back. Potvin cleared one, broken up. Chance for Hughes. Smith! Save, rebound, Smith stopped back. While flat on the ice off of McClellan. And back comes Tonelli for New York. He tries to bust through the defense. Pure jammed into the boards, and he's been injured in a collision. And now LaFontaine almost gets into it, and everybody congregates. Pure gets to his feet. Meanwhile, Fogelin trying to hammer away at Dwayne Sutter. Pure really was hammered into that boards as 2 players collided. He was on the inside of them, and that's why Fogelin and the Oilers are upset.
They say what's good for the goose is good for the gander. Maybe the Islanders were thinking that if Billy Smith went out of our net and got slammed against the boards by Jaroslav Pozar, we'll do the same. I think, however, though, LaFontaine
pushed LaFontaine right into Pure.
He sure did. I don't think LaFontaine had any intentions of taking out Grant Pure had it not been for Pat Hughes wrapping him totally up. Well, there you see the flurry at the other end just prior to that. Dennis Potvin, number 5, on the ice. Good save by Billy Smith. Meanwhile, Pure seems to be back up on his feet and is all right. May have just been shaken up on the play.
Exclusively on USA Sports, it's the NHL Stanley Cup Finals. More right after this pause. There's the Editor coach, Al Arbor. Meanwhile, on the play, we get penalties. Dwayne Sutter, 2 minutes for high sticking, plus 2 minutes for roughing. The Oilers leave Bogelin. It's 2 minutes for high sticking and 2 minutes for roughing. So double minors against Sutter and against Bogelin, and it will leave each team man short for the next 4 minutes. Meanwhile, Fuhr is all right. And you saw the replay where LaFontaine was run in to Fuhr by the Edmonton player, and you really couldn't blame LaFontaine. Meanwhile, each team will be a man short. 2:07 left here in the second period. Here is Gregg shooting it to Messier at center. Messier over to Randy Gregg. Moves across the line. Boudelier breaks it up. Now it's Gilbert for New York to Ken Morrow. Morrow flips it in, and number 29, Jackson, going back to get it. Jackson being forechecked by Gilbert. Brent Sutter gets the puck. Randy Gregg ties him up. Now in comes Gilbert. Jackson all over Gilbert behind the net. And Jackson kicks at it, but Morrow had pinched in from the point to tie up the Edmonton player Messier, and we'll get a face-off in the Edmonton zone. It was 1-1 after the first period. Clark Gillies, as you look at Ken Morrow, Clark Gillies scoring for the Editors, Kevin Lowe for Edmonton. Here in the second, Gillies has scored again. But Mark Messier has come back to tie it for Edmonton, and it's tied 2-2. We're down to 1 minute, 29 seconds left. This is game 3. The series is tied, of course. 1 game apiece, and this is the first of 3 games here in Edmonton. And most of the thinking among the press corps and broadcasters covering this series that this third game is the pivotal game in the series, as it usually is at a best of 7. Here's a long shot. Janssen stopped by Fuhr, and here's Gretzky giving it to Randy Gregg. Now to Messier. Messier trying to get around Potvin, who broke it up. Now held in by Gretzky, but Potvin was there again. Shot at the center ice. Taken by Kevin Lowe over to Gregg. Now to Wayne Gretzky. To Anderson, number 9. Glenn Anderson loses the stick, kicks the puck into the corner. Gretzky in with Dennis Potvin. Potvin holding Gretzky out. Gretzky centered. Comes to Huddy. Shoot it. Now Anderson in front. Shoots. He scores! Glenn Anderson. Here's a look at it. Watch Gretzky behind the net. Just poke it away from Potvin. Got it to Anderson. Back to the point. The shot blocked and the rebound to Anderson. And with Smith down, Anderson went up top and scores his 6th playoff goal. And Edmonton leads for the first time in this game. Here's another look. See Smith down, and you see Anderson go upstairs. And Edmonton leads for the first time tonight. It's 3-2 Oilers. Now Paul Coffey for Edmonton. Breaking in on left wing. Shooting it into the corner. Linsman in to get it. Got some help on the play. Here's Hughes to Coffey. A shot. Smith to save Coffey. Rebound. He scores! Paul Coffey. Coffey gets the goal, and you see the explosiveness of this Oiler team. Here's Pat Hughes to Coffey. Smith the save, but Coffey gets the rebound, dekes around Smith, put it in on his backhander. Another angle. There's the first save by Smith. And number 7, Coffey, got the rebound and deftly put it around Smith on his backhand. 2 quick goals. 17 seconds apart, And there's the explosiveness of the Edmonton offense. And the Oilers have a 4-2 lead. Now the puck shot in by Edmonton. Back is Morrow to Boudelier. Boudelier clearing it to center. Gregg knocks it down. Mark Gillies cleared it in. We're down to 12 seconds left in the period. Randy Gregg flips it to center, and Paul Boudelier has it for Edmonton. Boudelier to Gillies. Broken up and intercepted by Gretzky, who shoots it in as the buzzer goes to end the second period. Shots on goal in the game so far, favoring the Oilers by a margin of 24-18. In that second period, the Oilers had 13 shots to the Islanders' 8. And Edmonton has the lead. 2 quick goals in 17 seconds by Anderson and Coffey. Coming up in our intermission, you'll meet one of the earlier Edmonton goal scorers, defenseman Kevin Lowe, as he visits with Al Trutwick. The score after 2 periods of play here in Edmonton. The Oilers 4, the Islanders 2. Our intermission coming right up. Periods of play. It's the Edmonton Oilers 4, the New York Islanders 2. Second period scoring summary. Gillies gave the Islanders the lead. Messier tied it. Then Anderson and Coffey, 2 goals just 17 seconds apart to give Edmonton the lead. So the Oilers score 3 in a row. The Stanley Cup playoffs are brought to you by Honda, makers of the Prelude. Dan Kelly up in the broadcast booth area. I think you're seeing the explosiveness of the Edmonton Oilers. 446 goals in the regular season, the most ever by a team in the NHL. You saw why. Edmonton exploded for 3 in a row, 2 of those in 17 seconds. I wonder, too, if Billy Smith isn't a little bit weary. He's been going down a little more than he has in other games. Let's go to you, Al Trutwick.
All right, Dan, how could you blame the Islanders, I think, or the Oilers for that matter, for being tired? I think for the Islanders now, this is game 99 since the regular season began. Another quick note, it's really interesting how your emotions can flow back and forth. After the Islanders beat Edmonton 6-1, they were asking all the questions of the Edmonton Oilers. What's wrong with the team? How come you're not winning? Why aren't you passing? So on and so forth. But now, the Islanders, having absorbed that tremendous onslaught by the Oilers at the end of the second period, most likely they will be the ones answering those tough questions when this game is over. Let's go back to Dan Kelly for the start of period 3.
Right you are, Al Trutwick, and as the period begins, each team still a man short. Wayne Sutter has 1:53 left in his double minor, so does Lee Pogulin. Here we go at the third period. Smith missed a shot at the side of the net as he went to clear it, and it rolled right through the crease. Here are the Oilers with Messier flipping to Glenn Anderson. His shot is a high one and goes off the glass. Now Thomas Janssen, number 3 for New York. Janssen at center ice, shooting it into the Edmonton zone. And the Oilers go back, and Kevin Lowe just cleared it to center. There's Gretzky racing in for Edmonton. Gretzky to the puck. Played it off the boards, then is tied up by Morrow. Gretzky still tied up now. Taken by Gretzky, center to Coffey. His shot blocked by Morrow. Morrow trying to clear it. Here's Coffey as the Oilers put pressure on. Gary Curry shoots. Smith got a leg on that. Now Coffey holding it in. Gary Curry in behind the net to Gretzky. Janssen took it away from Gretzky and cleared it to Clark Gillies. Coffey shot it in, but Janssen gets it for New York. Janssen for the Islanders with a long shot, and Fuhr steered that into the corner, and here is Charlie Huddy to Gary Curry. Now to Kenny Linsman. Linsman behind the net, trying to work it in front. Linsman did. Checked by LaFontaine, and now Curry going back for Edmonton, dropping it to Randy Gregg. Gregg clearing it in. Linsman couldn't control it. Boudelier back for New York to Tonelli. He missed it. Boudelier then knocked down by Lumley. Lumley ahead to Linsman. Linsman into the Islander zone. Boudelier tying him up, but Randy Gregg gets it. Gregg cutting in. Backhander. Smith juggled it, but made the save. And then held on to it. And Edmonton carries right on into the third period the way they finished the second, when they scored 3 goals in a row, the last 2 in a 17-second span.
They found the secret. That is, keep the puck in the Islanders' end zone, and then you don't have to worry about making some bad errors in your own zone. The Oilers can forecheck, and right now, and in the last part of the second period, they're really showing something they didn't show in game number 2. Now, Billy Smith isn't exactly having an on night. Little miscue there on his part.
I mentioned, Gary, when you were on your way upstairs, you mentioned the Islander defense perhaps being a little weary. Smith is going down a lot more tonight than he has in previous games, and that's always a sign that the goaltender may be a little weary, too.
Well, remember, he has had all of the action except for 3 times that Rolly Melanson has been inserted during playoffs.
Here's Boudelier for New York as the Islanders work to Dwayne Sutter, number 12. Sutter working it in, knocked away by Gregg, and Hughes shot it to center. Boudelier clearing it. Randy Gregg intercepts ahead to Pozar. Pozar checked by Pearson. Now Brent Sutter stick handles back. Cleared it into the corner to Boudelier. He shoots it over onto the other wing, and Dwayne Sutter ahead to Brent Sutter. One man back. Brent Sutter trying to go around Charlie Huddy, and Huddy played him perfectly. Now Huddy behind his own goal to Paul Coffey. Ahead to Pozar. At center to Hughes. Hughes checked by Janssen, who shot at the center, and McClellan drops it back to the Edmonton line. Huddy to Coffey. Now to Anderson. Glenn Anderson, number 9, cutting in, shoots. Smith, a diving save on Anderson. Now Coffey's shot wide of the net. Here's Messier for Edmonton. In front to Lindstrom. Shoots. Smith just got the tip of his stick on it. The Oilers continue to pour pressure on. Glenn Anderson centers one, and Smith grabbed it and held on. Oh, they love it here in Edmonton. Coast-to-coast coverage of the Stanley Cup Final is only on USA Sports. Gary, the Oilers come right on to start the third period the way they finished the second.
Yeah, one thing about the Oilers, very obvious, they can really skate. I don't think in game 2 they were utilizing their speed to their advantage.
Here's Goring for the Islanders, ahead to the rookie Pat Flatley. Flatley moving in. Kevin Lowe took him out of the play, and Lowe back behind his own goal to Fogelin. Fogelin cleared it, intercepted by Gilbert. Big chance for Gilbert, never got the shot off. Now Gilbert into the corner. Kevin Lowe cleared it around to Gary Curry, number 17. Curry tried to clear it. Janssen held it in. Islanders continue to hold it in. Semenko couldn't get it out. Here's Gilbert to Goring. Centered. Semenko failed to clear, but now Gretzky comes to center. Gretzky dropping it to Curry. Shoots. Smith the save. And he held on to it. Not just the skating that the Oilers are doing, but I think their confidence has been buoyed by that late second period explosion.
Interesting, Dan. I think that the Oilers with a definite game plan coming in tonight. Maybe that in itself has given them some confidence, knowing what they had to do. Now, in this perfect example, the Oilers are gaining the blue line here. They're forcing the Islanders to back in. They're shooting more. They were in a fairly good shooting position there. They let it go. They're not being hesitant. They're not overly cautious tonight. And I think the fact that Glenn Sather gave them a game plan, said, this is what I want you to do, and they're going out and doing it, especially since the midway second period mark.
Here in the third period, the Oilers have outshot the Islanders 4-1 in the game. 28-19, the shots favor Edmonton. Here's Messier for the Oilers, trying to center one. Matt Celine cleared it away, and now Messier at center ice over to Gregg, who fired it in. Smith behind the net, leaving it for Denis. Now to Helene, who missed it, and Randy Gregg. Behind the goal to Anderson, out in front, and it was fanned on by Lindstrom, who was moving in. Pure gives it to Gregg. Cleared it to center. LaFontaine missed it. Here's Messier. Mark Messier shoots one. Denis blocked that, but the play was offside anyway at the Islander blue line. The score favors Edmonton, 4-2. We'll pause and then be right back on USA. 15 minutes, 28 seconds left here in the third period. Edmonton 4, the New York Islanders 2. Game 3 of the Stanley Cup final. The Oilers, who have been coming on as this game has gone on, dump it in. Here's Pozar. To Lumley behind the net. Janssen cleared it away. Here's Gillies. Checked on the play, but as Vogelin's shot went near the net, it was grabbed by Smith, and he held onto it.
A little extra confidence as well. Defenseman pinching in. Lee Vogelin was able to contain, giving Clark Gillies a rough time along those side boards. The others just, when they're playing their type of game, are a different hockey team. Lots of hustle out there, but nevertheless, they still want to keep that puck out of their own zone, because Al Arbour and the Oilers, or I should say, and the Islanders, still gave the Oilers some problems, even in this third period, once they get the puck in that zone.
Here's Butch Goring dumping the puck into the Edmonton zone. Dave Lumley back to get it. To Yaroslav Pozar. Pozar cleared up the center, and Gilbert for New York. Working it over to Bossy, back to Gilbert. Shot in, but Kevin Lowe is there for Edmonton. Lowe checked by Bossy. Now Lowe knocked the puck with his hand to Fuhr, and that's called back because of a hand pass and a face-off. Will be in the Edmonton Oilers zone. Dennis Potvin has left the Islander bench and gone to the Islander room because of an earlier tough check. Meanwhile, the Islanders are still without three regulars. Bob Bourne, Bob Nystrom, and Dave Langevin are all still sidelined with injuries. And the Islanders had better hope that Potvin is not seriously hurt.
I guess so. With Langevin out, they sure cannot afford to be without Potvin.
Here's Brent Sutter into the corner. Charlie Huddy tying him up. Over comes Messier. Messier working it to McClellan. Back to Messier. He breaks out on left wing. Mark Messier moving in. Messier shoots. He scores!
They love it. Here at Northlands Coliseum, they're seeing their Oilers do what they do best, score goals. Watch the strength of Mark Messier. Pat Flatley's on him. He's trying to check him, but Messier, with that incredible strength in his forearms, is able to keep that puck in front of him. Watch again. Here's Messier. He's coming right at us. Flatley's on him. But look, Messier still has enough strength in those wrists to be able to get off a good, hard, strong shot.
Messier's second of this game, is seventh of the playoffs, and it is 5-2 Edmonton. There are the Oilers. Lumley stealing the puck. Lumley gets it to McClellan. McClellan in front of shot. Another shot. He scores! Kevin McClellan! And it's 6-2 Edmonton.
The Oilers have come alive. Watch Kevin McClellan, big, strong addition at center ice for the Oilers this season. He goes to his backhand. Smith is down. Gord Dineen, Boudelier on the ice together. Potvin out, remember, a lot of pressure on young rookie. McClellan all alone in front of that net area. Needs some help from the forward.
Well, earlier the Oilers scored 2 in 17 seconds. Here they've scored 2 in 20 seconds. And Edmonton leads it 6-2. Here's Gretzky. And he fired it wide as he moved in. Now, Gary Curry trying to hold it in the zone. Couldn't, and Gillies comes back for New York. Mark Gillies, number 9. He scored both the Islander goals. There'll be a penalty against Edmonton as Gillies was high-sticked on the play. And Pozar will get a penalty. For our local systems, we'll pause here. The Stanley Cup Final is coming your way on USA Sports. Running for the Islander bench. Rolly Melanson is going to take over in goal. Smith has given up 6, and the Islanders trail 6-2. 13:44 remaining. And Melanson will come in to spell off Billy Smith. By the way, those last 2 scoring plays, Messier from Hughes at 5:32. And then just 20 seconds later, McClellan from Lumley at 5:52. Messier's goal is 7th of the playoffs. McClellan's his 4th. Pozar, meanwhile, got a penalty on that last play.
Well, that will give the Islanders a 2-minute power play opportunity. Meanwhile, Roland Melanson is in the nets for Billy Smith.
We'll be right back as the Stanley Cup Finals continue on USA. Well, Rolly Melanson takes over for Billy Smith there. This is Melanson's 5th appearance of the playoffs. He's come in earlier in playoff series and spelled off Smith. He's played only 33 minutes at 3.64 goals against average. This has to be a big lift for the Oilers. Their nemesis a year ago was Billy Smith. It has been also in the first couple of games, and they've chased him out of this game here early in the 3rd period. That, I would think, be a big lift for Edmonton.
It was a big decision for Al Arbour as well, because he doesn't want to give the Oilers anything motivationally that they can use. I'm sure he was hoping that his team might be able to come back, but when you're down 6-2, I think he was looking ahead to game number 4, figuring get Smith out of the nets now, give him a little bit longer rest, and meanwhile get Roley back in there. And oftentimes a change in goaltending can also spark your team, but long uphill battle now against the Oilers.
Well, you see the rink attendant says some debris has been thrown onto the ice. Billy Smith has started the Islanders' last 31 playoff games. But he's out of this one here tonight. And I'm thinking of Game 4, which will come up on Thursday night here at the Northlands Coliseum. Game time will again be 9 o'clock Eastern time here on USA. Game 4 this Thursday night. And when I mentioned Smith starting the last 31 playoff games, including tonight, I'm quite sure they'll come right back to them Thursday night. Or do you think differently?
No, I sure don't think differently. I don't have a doubt in my mind, regardless of how well Rolly Melanson plays the remaining part of this 3rd period. If there's any question that Billy Smith will start Game 4.
Meanwhile, the Islanders will be on a power play here. They're trailing 6-2. The Islanders are 1 for 5 on the power play this evening, and they get the man advantage here because of the high sticking penalty to Pozar when he high stick Clark Gillies. So we're ready to resume the action. The Pains here chant, "We want Billy." Here's Kaller on this Islander power play to Dineen. Back to Anders Kaller. Kaller to Dineen at the right point. Over to Boudelier. Boudelier into the corner to Gillies. Back to Boudelier. Over to Dineen. Dineen off the boards to Kaller. Back to Gord Dineen. Dineen shot deflected by Lowe. And Gretzky cleared it away for Edmonton. The rookie Dineen at center ice over to Kaller. Now Messier shoots it to the Islander line, and Dineen gives it to Boudelier. Paul Boudelier through center ice. Knocked flying. And there'll be another penalty. Anderson will get it here for tripping. And Edmonton will be 2 men short. And if the Islanders need something to get them back in this game, they're getting it handed to them right on a platter here.
This is going to be an excellent opportunity for the Islanders, but they've got a problem right now. As you can see, Paul Boudelier being sidestepped there by Glenn Anderson. Anderson sticking out his left leg, taking him down, getting a 2-minute penalty. But the Islanders still do not have Potvin back on the bench area, and right now in the power play, boy, could they ever use him.
We've had no injury report on Potvin except that one rumor I heard here in the press box area, the broadcast area, is that he had leg cramps. By the way, Billy Smith, who's given up 6 goals in this game, has not given up 6 in the playoffs this year since Game 3 of the Rangers series. A 7-2 loss by the Islanders to the Rangers. That night, Smith gave up 6. Melanson took over and gave up the final one.
I think Smith rebounded after that, did he not? So all is not lost for the Islanders, but the Oilers are playing their game, and they're playing it to a T. Going offensively, but right now they're in a tough defensive situation. 4-on-3.
Now the Oilers, 2 men short. Anderson a tripping call, 6:56. Here's Trottier dumping it in. Going back to get it, Fogelin fired it, held in by Bossy. Now they roll it, came outside the blue line. And we've had further word on Dennis Potvin. Apparently he has some type of an injury to his back, is the word we hear now, and is having ice applied to his back or shoulder area. So that's the injury report we have received now.
Yeah, and I had said that it was a 4-on-3 situation. Al Arbour kept one player off the ice. It's actually 5-on-3, but Arbour didn't get the players that he wanted on the ice, so he kept one off, made a quick line change right away, got his player that he did want on the ice, and the old coach's play of keep the guy right over on the bench, and as soon as the puck's dropped, get the guy you want on there.
Edmonton 2 men short, cleared down the ice. Janssen, number 3, back to get it. Islanders on the power play. They're 1 for 5 on the power play this evening. This is Janssen. Over to Bossy. Back to Janssen. To Mike Bossy. Over to Gilbert. To Bossy at the point. Shoots one. Pure the save. Rebound. Gilbert the shot. Stopped by Pure. Another shot. This one stopped by this man, Kevin Lowe. And the Oilers come back into the Islanders zone. Lowe trying to move through. And just shot it into the corner. Edmonton still 2 men short. Here's Trottier for New York. Flips it in. Going back is Lowe. Lowe trying to clear it. Bossy at the point, knocked it down. Bossy moving in, centered one. It goes to the corner to Janssen. Janssen for New York. Back to Bossy. Bossy shoots. Pure kicks his leg out. Now Pozar on. The Islanders, or Edmonton, I should say, only 1 man short. Here's Trottier behind the net. Trottier centered. Gillies at the point. Into Trottier. Number 19, Trottier on this New York power play. Giving it to Gilbert. Back to Janssen. Janssen shoots one. Blocked by Fogelin. Now centered to Gilbert. His shot blocked in front of the net by Lowe. And now cleared by Pozar into the Edmonton zone. Anderson getting ready to come back on. Pure and the Oilers penalty killers get a great hand. Anderson is back on. Here's Lumley for Edmonton. The Oilers now at full strength. Now Linsman cleared it behind the net. Here's Janssen shooting it around on the boards to Tonelli. And LaFontaine has it for New York. To Boudelier. To LaFontaine. Too far ahead for him. Racing back is Jackson. And as he touches the puck, an icing call against the Islanders. For our local systems, we'll pause here. You're watching USA Sports. With Gary Green and Al Trautwig, Dan Kelly in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. 10:42 left here in the third period. It is 6-2 for the Oilers. Oilers have just killed off a 2-man short situation. Gretzky wins the face-off. Here's Semenko and Tonelli jamming up in the corner. Tonelli gets it free to LaFontaine. Trying to clear it in. Coffey knocked it away. Here's LaFontaine. Now to Tonelli. Gary Curry checked him. Tried to clear it in. Knocked down by Morrow. Gretzky now to Curry. To Semenko. He scores! Dave Semenko! And it is 7-2 for the explosive Edmonton Oilers.
Everything's going right for the Oilers when Dave Semenko starts to score. Take a look at this shot. Good pass. Semenko just lets it go. I think it hit the inside of the post area. Well, that it did. Hit the left post, went right in. Tough way to start for Rolly Melanson.
It's 7-2 Edmonton. Here are the Islanders coming back. Clark Gillies stopped by Pure. Now Gillies again. Pure stopped him once more. And now it's cleared by Coffey on the boards. Semenko couldn't get it out. Dineen held it in. And now Semenko comes back for Edmonton. Long shot. Melanson steered it away. There's Gretzky in the corner, but skated out by Dineen. Then Gretzky steals it back from Dineen. To Curry at the side of the net. Rolled it through the crease. And now Gillies for New York shoots it into the Edmonton zone. Going back is Kevin Lowe, number 4. Lowe, as the Oilers have now a 5-goal lead. They clear it to center. Hughes couldn't get around Janssen. Janssen shoots it down the ice. Edmonton, they rule could have played it, so there's no icing. Here's Lowe. Clears to center, intercepted by Boudelier. Boudelier giving it to Butch Goring. Goring circling back now to Ken Morrow. Morrow to Dwayne Sutter. Sutter checked by Pozar. And here's Kevin McClellan. Checked by Sutter, number 12, Dwayne Sutter. Works it into Matt Celine. He's knocked down. And Pozar gets the loose puck. Pozar clearing it, and the Oilers' Hughes breaks out on right wing. Hughes shooting it in, but Morrow is there for New York. Almost lost it. Morrow gets it again. Rink wide to Boudelier. Boudelier to Goring at center. Get him on the ankle, and he limps to the bench. Now cleared back to center. Morrow has it for the Islanders. Couldn't get around the defense, and Jackson shot it back to center. Gilbert for the Islanders trying to stick handle in. Taken down by Jackson, and Anderson comes back with Messier. Messier got it into the zone. Bossy cleared it out. And here is a loose puck stolen by Trotcha. Now to Gilbert. Gilbert takes aim, fires. Wide by a couple of feet. Puck bounced all the way to center. Janssen back for New York to number 2, Dineen. Now it's center to Bossy. Back to Dineen. Dineen into the Edmonton zone. Shoots one. Pure to his knees to make a glove save. And he held on to it. Let's go right here to Al Troutwig. There you see Dave Hunter, the injured Edmonton forward, being loaded into an ambulance here at the Northlands Coliseum. Apparently some type of abdominal injury.
Well, it was because of a check that he received. Actually, he crashed into the boards right in front of the penalty box area in the first period of play and went off the ice in some pain.
Here's Linsman for Edmonton to Gretzky at center. Gretzky trying to break in. Shoots. Melanson. Stick save there. Now Dineen behind the net. Check. Here's Hughes trying to work it in front. Did, but Melanson came sprawling across to cover up on it. And we'll get a face-off in the Islander zone. We're coming down to the final minutes in this game. We'll be back with more on USA Sports. And Andy Moog comes over the boards. So apparently the Oilers are going to change goaltenders as well. Maybe Fuhr was injured earlier. Maybe it's just a chance to give Moog some work. What are your thoughts, Gary?
Well, that's the two possibilities, Dan. Remember that he was taken out heavily in that second period of play, partially because of Pat LaFontaine, partially because of his own player, Pat Hughes. That may have shaken him up a bit. Or it may be just that Glenn Taylor's decided that with a 7-2 lead, 7 minutes, 34 seconds remaining, this game's pretty much in hand right now. So give Grant Gear the rest. Give him that little bit of extra time. Make sure that he doesn't get hurt in the remaining part of this game, and have him healthy and fresh for game number 4 here Thursday night.
This will be Moog's 5th playoff appearance this year, although he's played 135 minutes at 3.56 goals against average, and he comes in with 7:34 left in regulation time. Let's go again to Al Troutway.
It's very simple, Dan. The microphone's got to be plugged in. You saw Dave Hunter wheeled into the ambulance here. He has severely bruised ribs. They're taking him to the hospital for precautionary x-rays. Still no update on the condition of Islander captain Dennis Potvin, who, as we're told, has a bruised left shoulder that's way on his back, and he's got an ice pack there. I don't think we'll see him for the rest of this game. The Islanders seeing no need to take a chance with him, trailing by as many goals as they are. Back to you and Gary.
Okay, Al, continuing on the theme of Andy Moog. He has 2 wins to his credit this year in his 4 previous playoff appearances this year. Both of his victories coming against Minnesota in the Campbell Conference Final. By the way, that last Edmonton scoring play, as you look at Andy Moog continuing to take some warm-up shots, Semenko got the goal, his 5th of the playoffs from Curry, 9:41 the time. That's the goal that made it 7-2.
Al Arbour was hoping not to have to use Baudelaire and Dineen in excess. He said he had hoped that he would be able to slide them in easily, give them an opportunity to really feel this year out in Stanley Cup playoffs. Unfortunately, that's not the case tonight. Dineen and Baudelaire getting a lot of ice time. Stephen Pearson has not really been back out on the ice. He's seen very limited ice time in the last period of play, in the last part of the second period. Billy Smith has returned from the dressing room to witness the remaining part of this third period. The Islanders just going with 4 defensemen right now.
So Moog is in goal for Edmonton, Melanson for the Islanders. Both teams apparently will wind up this game with their backup men in goal. Here's Hughes from the faceoff with a shot. Melanson a glove save. Baudelaire can't clear it. Here's Hughes, centers to Linsman. He missed it. Now a shot from the point by Huddy blocked. And here's Tonelli to Flatley at center. Number 8, Pat Flatley to John Tonelli. He was knocked down. Huddy gets the puck. Double teamed, I should say, and the Islanders. Tonelli had it, then lost it. Here's Huddy without a stick, kicking it to Coffey. And number 7, Paul Coffey, works it free on the boards in Hughes. Feeds it to Linsman. Number 13, Linsman circling back. Now ahead on the boards to Huddy. Long shot, Melanson the save. Rebound taken by Baudelaire. Cleared it to Flatley. Now held in by Hughes. Here's Melanson clearing it. Now Tonelli knocks it down and clears it into the Edmonton zone, where Paul Coffey is back to get it, number 7. Coffey to Fogelin. Fired it in. Melanson leaves it for Janssen and the Islanders, who trail 7-2. Work it to Anders Keller. He drops it back, and Melanson has to play the puck. Now lost it. Gretzky trying to center. Here's Gary Curry to Gretzky to Pozar. Pozar in front of the net. Ridden out by Dineen. Dineen then kicked it free. Gillies, who has scored both of the Islander goals, tied up by Fogelin. Fogelin knocked it in behind the Islander net. Janssen is there. Pozar in to tie him up. And it's held, and we'll get a face-off in the Islander zone as you look close up at Billy Smith.
Well, Billy Smith giving some moral support to his teammates to finish this game out tonight. I think that Smith, immediately after coming off the ice, went straight to the dressing room just to get some of his gear off, get some of his composure, and he came out to face the music. The fans yelling, "We want Billy." Well, he came back out behind the bench.
Most of the music he's been hearing the past 5 years has been rather sweet, though, hasn't it?
Oh, that it has. And I'll tell you, I think it's a tremendous psychological lift for these Edmonton Oilers just to get Smith pulled out of the game because of 6 goals put by him.
So do I. I think they had been rather psyched by him. Here's a shot that Melanson makes a glove save on Anderson. And he held on to it. Well, they said the Oilers didn't shoot enough in Game 2. They've shot enough tonight, 38 times, and 7 goals.
Well, that's plenty of shots to win, and they have been scoring on their opportunities. That's the big difference. There's David Poyle, the general manager of the Washington Capitals, here witnessing tonight's Stanley Cup playoff game.
Here's another chance for the Auditors. Gregg missed the net. Now Jackson held it in, but play had been called. And Glenn Anderson and one of the Auditors want to get into something. I'm not sure if it's Morrow or Boudelier that Anderson is trying to get to. Speaking of shots on goal here in the third period, Edmonton has dominated. They've outshot the Islanders 14-6, and they've scored 3 times. The shots on goal so far, 38 you see for Edmonton, 24 for the Islanders. And Gary, you mentioned the psychological thing of chasing Smith out of there. This explosive Edmonton club has now scored 6 goals in a row against the Islanders in this game. Remember, at one time, they were trailing 2-1.
Come on, Glenn Sather, you can surely smile a little bit after what Dan Kelly has just said. These Oilers, you called them explosive machines before and some of those statistics, but right now, both teams having a player sitting in the penalty box.
Anderson and Morrow get high sticking penalties, 14-19 the time. And so each team a man short. Boudelier up the middle to Pat LaFontaine. Gregg knocks it down, and here's Messier, number 11. He scored a pair of goals for the Oilers tonight. Messier dropping it to Jackson, back to Messier. To Jackson, to Messier. Now LaFontaine almost stole it, but Messier able to recover. Messier to Don Jackson, number 29. He just dumps it in, and Boudelier chases back to get it for New York. Paul Boudelier to Gord Dineen, back to Boudelier. Gretzky into Forchek. Clearing one. Huddy pinching Gilbert in against the boards. Now Lindstrom is there, and it's held for a faceoff. Let's go again to Al Troutwig.
All right, Dan, just a moment. We tell you that this Edmonton Oiler romp has been brought to you by the Wonder Wagon, the all-new 1984 Toyota van. It fits in the garage. By the Stroh Brewery, makers of Stroh's, Old Milwaukee, and other fine beers. By Cooper Tools, the difference between work and workmanship. By Mobil One, synthetic motor oil, the best engine protection you can give your car. By Levi's Menswear, makers of Levi's Action Slacks and Action Jeans. And by Ford and your Ford dealer. Have you driven a Ford lately?
Play underway. Janssen for New York into the Edmonton zone. Flipping it in. Here's Anders Kaller on the boards, tied up and checked by Jari Kurri. Now it is Paul Coffey for Edmonton. Coffey, number 7, over to his defense partner, Huddy. Huddy firing it in. Digging in is Gretzky. He drops it to Coffey. Coffey with a play at the point, but Anders Kaller broke it up. Jari Kurri checks him. And it's held on the boards for a faceoff. This Edmonton scoring attack, Messier has scored a couple of goals. Other Edmonton goal scorers tonight, Kevin Lowe, Anderson, Coffey, McClellan, and Semenko. Gillies has scored both of the Auditor goals. By the way, Gary, I've noticed that Al Arbour has had Brian Trottier resting for most of the latter part of this game.
Oh, no question. Al Arbour is thinking about game number 4, and right now, people like Trottier, Stephen Pearson, giving that little bit of extra rest.
Here's a loose puck cleared to Boudelier. Each team still a man short. Boudelier, number 4. Just dumping it into the Edmonton zone, and Moog sets it up there for Lee Fogelin. Fogelin to Hughes, cleared to center ice. Now knocked down, and McClellan gets it to the Auditor line. Gillies cleared it away. Here's Brent Sutter, number 21. Sutter trying to flip it for Gillies. It missed the mark, goes the length of the ice, but they rule Edmonton could have played it so there's no icing. The penalized players are back on, so each team at full strength. There's number 4, Kevin Lowe. Ahead onto the wing for Hughes, who dumps it in. Melanson out of the net. Hughes knocked it down, centered it, but Boudelier clears to Brent Sutter. Now to Helene, number 20. That's Helene, checked in the play by Big Semenko. And here's Boudelier, dropping it back to his line to Ken Morrow. 3 minutes left in the third period. Morrow giving it to Helene, back to Boudelier. Boudelier to Morrow. Morrow to Helene at center ice. Into Dwayne Sutter. Check from behind, and the Oilers clear it away. Melanson will have to play the puck. Johnson giving it to Ken Morrow. Morrow now checked. Here's a centering pass. Goring took it right away from Melanson. Knocked it behind the net. Now Goring to Helene. Over to Keller. The Editors 5 goals behind. And on the verge of taking or falling behind in the series. Here's a long offside pass. Jackson to Lindsman over 2 lines. 2:17 left. And now in front of the net, Dineen and Lindsman almost get into it. 2:17 to play. Let's go to Al Trautwig.
All right, Dan, the executive producer of USA Sports is Jim Drake. Tonight's game was produced by Mark D. Stolberger and directed by Larry Brown. Our associate producer is Tim Rapley, and our production coordinator is Barbara Travers. I don't know how you and Gary feel, but I've heard people say that there's no such thing as momentum. I think a tape of this game will certainly almost define that word. The Oilers have created it for themselves and have kept it going.
They really have. I used the word late in the second period, confidence, when the Oilers scored those 2 goals in 17 seconds. Their confidence just seemed to drive them on to these heights that they've reached in the third period.
Momentum, confidence, so much for the doom and gloom anyway that was around here yesterday and this morning.
Yeah, the Oilers split on Long Island, but everybody here was really upset about that 6-1 pasting they took in Game 2. Well, they've bounced back, and you've seen the results. It's 7-2 Edmonton, and it's not over yet. McClellan, number 24. Got it into the editor zone. 2 minutes left in this game. Thomas Janssen for the Editors. Starting to come out. Now circling back as McClellan is into forecheck. The shot to center. Fogelin has it for Edmonton to Lowe. Back to Fogelin. Fogelin just flips it high into the New York zone. And the rookie Gord Dineen gives it to Janssen. Ahead to Dwayne Sutter, number 12. Now to LaFontaine. He moves in. Moog the save on that. Cleared the rebound, hit the side of the net with it. And then it winds up on the mesh of the Edmonton goal. Well, Gary Green, how do you explain what we've seen here tonight? I thought at the start of the game, the Oilers looked tight. The Editors looked like the better team. No question in the second half, the Oilers have looked like the better team.
Well, Dan, you described it perfectly, especially in that first period. I haven't seen the Oilers play much worse. There you can see John Ziegler sitting, enjoying tonight's game, the president of the National Hockey League, and now a very vocal and enthusiastic Edmonton Oilers fan.
Well, as we wind down Game 3, I should say, what do you think ahead when you think of Game 4? Does this momentum, as Al Trautwig calls it, carry the Oilers into Game 4?
May help them a little bit more because Game 4 is again in their building, but remember the Islanders knocking off the Oilers in game number 2. We thought the momentum might have been with them coming home for the Oilers, but instead it's worked the opposite way. So who knows what to expect game number 4. We start all over fresh again with a new score.
Morrow clearing one to John Tonelli. Ahead to Anders Keller. Keller with a shot. Moog turned that aside. Now Jackson shooting it over to Kenny Lindsman. Lindsman ahead to Randy Gregg. We're in the final minute. Now a long pass to Pozar. Melanson cleared it away. Morrow on the boards can't get it out of there. He and Lindsman bump. Now Tonelli to Dwayne Sutter. And number 12, Dwayne Sutter to Boudelier at center. Boudelier for the Editors to Matt Celine. This shot stopped by Huddy. And the Edmonton Oilers, who lead 7-2, attack again. Here's Semenko. Sprawling save by Melanson. And the rebound cleared, and Tonelli shot it to center ice. And now McClellan and Melanson get into it. back in front of the Islander goal. And now Morrow grabs a hold of McClellan, or at least pushes him away from Rolly Melanson.
I think Rolly Melanson has been watching Billy Smith in practices because he decided